a month into the apocalypse, and here we are streaming free movies from our cave in Renton, Washington, just outside of Seattle, and it really does feel like a cave with this stone wall behind us. I actually put lights, big lights on the wall behind me to try to get my face from washing out, and it's working. My face looks darker, and my lips look deep magenta, like I've been drinking Kool-Aid or something, which I've not. But anyway, yeah, Miranda already made a donation tonight, a big $30 donation. It's not showing up on the counter down there, which is at 31, so it should be at 61. I was going to talk about the things we have to offer here in exchange for donations. This showcase of fabulous prizes, which can be yours if your prices are right. And you notice I put the Space Ghost puzzle up here, Miranda. You can come get it if you want it in exchange for that $30 donation easily. If anyone's interested in anything you see back here, ask me about it. Yeah, Miranda's saying, really? Yeah, come get it. Miranda lives about half a mile away. She can just walk over and get the thing. You'll notice, left, right, Battlestar Galactica board game is back here for a donation of $50. You can take that home with you. It's complete, and all of the cardboard pieces, the moving pieces, the playing cards are unpunched. This is from 1978 or something like that. Miranda says, "You know I want that Space Ghost puzzle." I know you want it, Miranda, because you've been asking about it all week. You've been wanting me to put it together on camera. You'll notice, those of you with sharp eyes who have been here before will notice that I've added the Red Skull maquette to the showcase of prizes. For $50, you can take that home. There's a set of 36 Copic color markers. There's the I Dream of Jeannie bottle. There's the Iron Giant toy, or I should say the talking Iron Giant toy. Yeah. I need to turn him off so the batteries don't go bad. And the Demonique Devil Girl bobblehead. Various cube puzzles. Anyone who's interested in those, make a donation. Let me know, and I'll tell you what donation level it would take to receive the things that you want. My name is Keith. I run this little nonprofit thing called 50th Street Studio, which is intended, or was intended, to be a video production studio and photography space, which we would use to shoot our own materials, and it would be available for rent to others. And on the weekends we were running artist bazaars here, and on Saturday evenings showing free movies. And of course none of those things can be done anymore. Gatherings, social gatherings have been outlawed, and basically retail has been outlawed, so all of the businesses on this block are sitting vacant with all their wares sitting in the windows for nobody to see. It's bad. It's a bad situation, and it's the same way all over the world. It's not just here, but I'm sure everybody knows that. Slap Silly just came in. He says he's 3,079 miles away. That's a very precise measurement you've got there, Mr. Silly. But welcome. You're in Florida. Is it 3,000 miles? Yeah, we're just about as far as we can be from each other and still be in the continental United States. Wow, 3,000 miles. Yeah, we're diagonal from each other, so we're not just straight across either. So yeah, well, thank you for coming. Tonight we'll be showing a film called The Mascot, or it's a French film animated by a Polish animator. The name in French is Fetish. And this particular restoration of it, this DVD restoration of it, is called Fetish 3312, because the film was made in 1933, and this restoration was made in 2012, so they call it Fetish. Dr. Dweeb has come in and has donated $25. Fantastic. Dr. Dweeb, very nice to see you. I know that name from somewhere. Yeah, you may have to remind me. But thank you so much. You donated enough there to get the Daffy Duck with the dollar eyeballs. Very much appreciated. You can claim a fabulous prize at the $20 level. These items are from my personal collection, and I will send one of these of your choice to you as a thank you for your donation to 50th Street Studio. Very nice to have you. I'm glad you came in. So with Miranda's $30 donation, we already have $55 in donations today. I wanted to reach 100 tonight, and it looks like we've got we're more than halfway there already. Haven't even started the movie. So the rest of you have only $45 to divide among yourselves. Thank you, Doctor, and you can take one of these $20 items. Miranda has already claimed the Space Ghost puzzle, or rather, I told her to take it. And the $20 level, you can take the Demonique, the sexy devil girl bobblehead, and or maybe one of the cube puzzles here. All right, we're off to a good start. Who all is here? Is it just the three? Is it just the three of you? I'm using a free service called Restream, which allows me to stream to multiple services. And for some reason, it's not telling me how many people are watching. It's giving me the chats. It's showing me the chats, but it's not showing me how many people are actually watching. It should be doing that, but it is not. Happy Gothart came in. Hello. Happy Gothart is someone I know. Carissa, who is one of the vendors who she was the final vendor here before the apocalypse finally crashed down on the whole Arts Bazaar scene. Thank you for being here, Carissa. I very much appreciate it. You're going to like this film, Carissa. She says, Mr. Silly says, in the before time. Yeah. You see, BC, before COVID. So we have 4 people I know for sure. Carissa says, I think so. French animation sounds amazing. It's actually Polish animation. The animator is Wladyslaw Starewicz. I've seen his name spelled many different ways. Wladyslaw and Irene Starewicz. He was living in Paris at the time. He got out of Poland early. He was smart. This was 1933 when he animated this, and he made many animated films every year. So there are lots and lots of animated films. As I was explaining before, the name of the film here in the West is The Mascot. It refers to like a like this, like a figurine or a character, or a stuffed toy. Which in French that would be called a fetiche. If we were to call the film The Fetish here in the West, that would have a different connotation, so they couldn't really name it that. This restoration of the film is called Fetish 3312, and it was done by Starewicz's grandchildren, I think. But they called it Fetish 3312 because the film was made in 1933, and this restoration was made in 2012. I had to order this from overseas, and it is a Region 2 DVD, a European DVD. It's the first time in my life I think I've ever had a Region 2 DVD. My laptop is perfectly able to play it. I also ordered a Blu-ray restoration of Buster Keaton's Steamboat Bill Jr., which arrived a couple of weeks ago, and I did not have a Blu-ray player to play it with. But then after last week's show, when I was talking about how I didn't have a Blu-ray player, I found a Blu-ray player in storage in one of my boxes, which I had forgotten about. This particular DVD player doesn't work well with the big TV on the wall here. It doesn't transmit any sound, and the color is weird. Even though it's a black and white film, one of the RGB colors is, or one of the RGB, I think it's RGB, one of the RGB colors is missing, so the picture looks bright purple. Bright purple. I'm having trouble getting the words to come out. Carissa, by the way, you know, when you were here last, I was having all that trouble getting my laptop here to play, to connect properly to the big TV. Well, during the past week, I plugged in the laptop to the big TV without, forgetting that it wasn't working, and it worked fine. It healed itself. I can't explain it. We got it working when Carissa was here by using a different laptop, which plugged into the big TV just fine. Dr. Dweeb says, you recognize my name from Ultrafilm Stream, live in Milton, Washington. So she was asking me if I knew any real estate people to have them look at the legal documents for the place you're in. Okay. Yeah, I do remember the name. Thank you. Much of the money that that comes into 50th Street Studio comes from Ultrafilm. She is an artist who does commission work. She live streams commission artwork, and 50th Street Studio collects the money for her 50th Street collects money for her on her behalf and redistributes it to her Patreon style. But she leaves most of it with us. Yeah, she donates most of it to 50th Street. So glad you came in, Dr. Dweeb. Nice to meet you. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, the laptop was working fine with the big 75-inch TV. Don't know what changed. But we had solved the problem that last weekend that Carissa was here by plugging in a different laptop, and we also got one of our supporters to run down to Best Buy and buy a USB to HDMI adapter, which worked. We tested it out later, and it worked. But it seemed to be adding some kind of motion smoothing to the picture, which I found not acceptable. I didn't spend any time trying to figure out if there were controls I could change for that particular adapter. But anyway, we'll keep it. We'll keep the thing. It's always good to have every kind of adapter you can imagine in a situation like this where you're going to need to get a picture working because you have people waiting to see it. And it worked. That particular live stream got us in big trouble with YouTube, though. We showed Tobor the Great that night, but I previewed it. I opened it with an educational film and an old BBC, an old UK Pathé News newsreel, and a cartoon, which happened to be Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd singing Wagner. You know, that What's Opera Doc cartoon. That got us in big trouble with YouTube. Not just a copyright claim from Warner Brothers. It got us a black mark and a warning. Slap Silly says, am I the only non-Pacific Northwesterner here? Maybe. Might be. Sometimes we have people from Nevada, people from Georgia. We have people from other states sometimes. But unless people, I can't tell who's watching or where they're from unless they speak up. So everybody chat. It looks like everybody's on Twitch too. Tonight we are streaming on Twitch. We are streaming on Facebook. We are streaming on Periscope and Pinterest and also Mixer. I had forgotten that I had created an account for Mixer some time ago, so I added it to the list here. We are not streaming on YouTube. Wait, did I say Pinterest? I meant Picarto. If I said Pinterest, I meant Picarto. You can't stream on Pinterest. Not that I know of, anyway. Dr. Dweeb says Georgia, the country or the state? The state. Oh, we do have a regular who watches from El Salvador. He watches almost every stream. He was a regular of mine back in the day when I ran my own YouTube channel, when I did science fiction book reviews, which I may start doing again. I'm thinking about it. I'll need encouragement. We've had 2 donations already. Dr. Dweeb, thank you for the $25 donation, and Miranda, thank you for the $30 donation. Both of you have fabulous prizes coming if you want them. You'll just have to let me know. But yeah, we are a 50th Street studio. We are a nonprofit, and I think I'll show my first opener here. Yeah, I found a newsreel from 1933, just so I could showcase the kind of thing that was actually happening in the States and in the world in 1933. Turns out Prohibition died. Put my ears on so I can hear it with you.
Parade. Michigan started the repeal landslide, and Utah, number 36, has clinched it. Only the Carolinas had voted dry when this map was made. Except for a few formalities, Prohibition's finished. The man who started it all, Andrew J. Volstead, as he looked when his Prohibition Enforcement Act launched the 14-year battle to regulate the habits of 120 million people. The rum-running era opens. The Coast Guard trains its guns on liquor smugglers, desperately risking their lives for the rich returns from bootleg booze. Here and there, a prize is captured and its illegal cargo confiscated. But although hundreds of boats are taken each year with lives lost on both sides, the blood pours in. Down sewer go thousands of gallons, but it's only a drop in the bucket.
Did he say 14 years? Did Prohibition last 14 years? Yeah, there's an odd silence here, right in the middle of the reel.
The gangster era starts. The private feuds of public enemies bring a reign of terror and baffle police.
Reign of terror. This Frank's Steakhouse.
Al Capone goes to jail. The federal government strikes its first telling blow at the underworld by convicting public enemy number 1 on income tax fraud. But although his long career of crime is stopped, there are plenty of others to take his place. Al Smith, nominated for president at the 1928 convention, heads the turn of the tide towards repeal as he courageously comes out against prohibition. Although his stand probably did much to cost him the election, the happy warrior sees his efforts crowned with success today. At Chicago, Franklin D. Roosevelt, just nominated, seals Prohibition's doom with these stirring words.
This convention wants repeal.
I don't think I've ever seen this speech.
Your candidate wants repeal.
Yeah.
And I am confident that the United States of America wants repealed.
The people speak. Congress heeds the mandate of the voters by passing a repeal amendment that goes to the states. The end of the bootlegger and all his murderous brood is at hand. Prohibition is dead, and America's liberty-loving millions rejoice.
Okay. That's it for the newsreel. I've got 2 other cartoons to share here before we start the feature, and I'll get busy on those. Can everybody hear? Okay, the sound on that newsreel was a little bit low. The cartoons won't, the volume won't be that low on the cartoons. Dr. Dweeb says, I love the old newsreels. Remember watching them on 16mm films back in school. Yeah, I remember 16mm films in school too. Yeah, I definitely remember the 16mm. They would herd us all into the cafetorium and wheel out the projector on a cart, and we'd all sit down on the floor. Yeah, if you're my generation, you'll remember. You'll have the same memories. But yeah, let's get on with the cartoons. Has anybody else come in? Everybody, please say hello. Everyone who's here, please use the chat. Please say hello at any time. We're at the ticker down there says 56. We're actually at 86. And we want to get to. We want to get another. What do I want to get to? We want to get to 125 or 130. We started out at 31, so we want to get to 131. Yeah, make $100 tonight. So we've got 80 more to go, something like that. Wait a minute. Okay, wait. I keep getting... Miranda made a $30 contribution, so we're at 86. Yeah, okay. So we want to get another 45, which would take us to 100, whatever, another 45 in donations. And I'm going to start the other preview films here. I'm having trouble talking tonight. I'm having trouble with being smooth, and in the past I've done really well of continuing to talk and continuing to interact with people and talk about what all we're doing and what all we. Tonight I'm having a little trouble thinking straight. I'm getting worn out. It's not the live streams. It's not the films. It's the everything in between where there's literally nothing to do except just sit and try to think of things to do on the computer. Yeah, this whole new world we're living in is taking its toll on all of us, and me included. I mean, I live a life of personal isolation. I've always lived that way, but being in a situation where I can't go out 2 or 3 times a week to go out to a restaurant and get something to eat or spend some time with other people. That's it's wearing me down. And I think everyone can understand that. Happy Carissa says words are hard. Yeah, it happens. Yeah. All right. Opening our first cartoon for tonight. Let's switch the camera so you can see. This is a cartoon that was released in 1933 from Van Buren Studios. This RKO thing is not what you would have seen in the original film.
He was small and oh so cute, but he certainly could blow that flute. He has hot licks and a lot of other tricks no one ever did before. Never took a lesson.
It's a Cubby Bear cartoon.
I'm all a-guessing.
Yes, sir.
He is just a little goof, but he certainly can blow that flute.
This is typical of cartoons from the early 30s. The Cubby Bear cartoons are not something that you see these days. People haven't bothered to collect them into restoration DVDs.
When he starts to do his stuff, and he certainly can do it rough, he has hot licks and a lot of other tricks no one ever did before. Never took a lesson, got 'em all a guessing. He's just a little goof, but he certainly can blow that flute. Never took a lesson, got 'em all a guessing. He's just a little goof, but he certainly can blow that flute.
So I can talk more. You know, there's nothing really remarkable about this particular cartoon. There wasn't anything remarkable about pretty much anything that Van Buren Studios was doing. You notice it's on the title page. It said an Aesop's Fable featuring Cubby Bear. One of the animators who became a director
Got 'em all a guessing.
Yes, sirree.
He's just a little
at Van Buren Studios was Paul Terry, who went on to found Terry Toons,
oh, honey.
and he continued the Aesop's Fables. He continued the Aesop's Fables series at Terry Toons with a character named Farmer Alfalfa. But he got his start at Van Buren, which was headquartered in New York. In the early days of animation, all the animation studios were in New York. When Walt Disney moved from Kansas City to the Los Angeles area, he was one of the first animation studios to have his headquarters in California. This Cubby Bear character was also the Cubby Bear was sometimes called Brownie Bear. There are some cartoons.
And you were mine, and you were mine. It was so marvelous, so wonderful, the stars above us shone. We were alone, we were alone.
She's got that Betty Boop voice going.
The moon was bold.
I wonder who was doing the voice. I don't think it's Mae Questel. It doesn't sound like Mae Questel. Or actually, it does kind of sound like Mae Questel, but I think it's not quite her. Mae Questel was the voice of Betty Boop. But then the voice of Betty Boop was a typical flapper type of cartoon voice.
Cubby, the bear. The stars are free, the moon is free, so get yourself a girl and fall in love. It doesn't cost a cent to bill and cool, for Mr. Cupid's ready to take your IOU. The stars are free, the stars are free.
Early sound cartoons were just like early movies. They were built around songs. It was expected for every film to feature songs, and the same was with early cartoons.
Get yourself a girl and fall in love. Now if you're worried 'cause the rent is due, invite the landlord over and let him worry too.
Dr. Dweeb is saying, so you think they would consider this blackface with how a lot of the characters look? Actually, it is. You notice they're all wearing white gloves as well. That's why early cartoon characters wore white gloves, because it was traditional for characters who were on stage, who were singing, to, whether they were in blackface or not, it was traditional for performers on stage to dress in minstrel show fashion, which included white gloves. So although the animators at the time might not have thought it was that way, they were just animating the way people were expected to look on stage when they were performing, so they did it that way. And if you'd asked animators at the time, I wonder if they would have said to you, oh yeah, it's the minstrel show tradition. They might not have thought of it that way. They were just doing what the other animators were doing. But that is where the look comes from. This is a serious fight going on here. Yeah, there was some serious violence.
Well, folks, it was a tough fight, and I'm glad I won.
Yay. But yeah, you're right, Doctor. There was definitely a minstrel show influence there, definitely a blackface thing going on. And all of the cartoon characters at the time arose from that same design ethos. Little round, rubbery black bodies with a white face, white eyes, and white gloves, including Mickey Mouse. Speaking of which, I'm going to show you a Mickey Mouse cartoon here. This is the first time I've shown a Mickey Mouse cartoon. Since we started doing these shows in December, this will be the first time I've shown a Mickey Mouse cartoon. And oddly enough, this particular Mickey Mouse cartoon has been in the public domain for decades. It's called The Mad Doctor. And it fell into public domain decades ago when the Walt Disney Corporation failed to renew its copyright. Because films require copyright to be renewed periodically. And if for whatever reason whoever owns the copyright to a film or a movie does not specifically renew it, it falls into public domain. For those of you who don't know, the voice of Mickey Mouse was Walt Disney himself, talking in a falsetto voice. Some of these early Disney Mickey Mouse cartoons and silly symphonies featured a lot of gruesome imagery, the skeletons and the skulls and stuff like that. The bats, yeah. There were some cinema houses that refused to show cartoons like this because they were too frightening. Look at this hand-drawn 3D space here. That must have been dazzling at the time. But keep in mind, this is released. This is made the same year as the cartoon that we just saw, and look, there's a world of difference in quality. You see all this featuring all these skeletons, all these dead bodies. There were some cinema houses that refused to show cartoons like this because they considered them too gruesome. is actually pretty frightening here. The way they've got Pluto bound to this chair.
I'm a raring, tearing wizard when it comes to cutting up. I can grab the chicken's gizzard on the wishbone of a pop. And here's the great experiment I'm just about to tackle to find out if the net result will bark or crow or cackle.
Yeah, this is pretty dire. See, this is what Disney was doing at the time was so much more creative than what anyone else was doing. Long-legged spider turned into a long-legged spider skull turned into a short-legged spider skull. That's funny. That's pretty funny. He actually cut Pluto's shadow off of him. Ouch. Yeah, of course, it's a dream. Of course, Pluto is happy to jump through the window. That music there at the end, that was the original theme music for the Mickey Mouse fan club. When it first started, the theme music for the Mickey Mouse fan club was it was called Minnie's Yoo-Hoo. It was Mickey was singing about when he heard his girlfriend calling. It was Minnie's Yoo-Hoo, and that's what they used as the intro and outro music for early Mickey Mouse cartoons. Anyway, we've got some comments here. Dr. Dweeb says, always interesting to watch stuff from the 30s and 40s with the racial stereotypes, especially fascinating watching Popeye cartoons from World War II and listening to them talking about the Japanese. Yeah. One of my favorite Popeye cartoons is called Sea in Red, White, and Blue, where Popeye and Bluto beat up some Japanese spies. And the way they're portrayed in there is really hilariously racist, with the buck teeth and the glasses and the slanted eyes and the super short. Dr. Dweeb also says, man, the stairs got me laughing. Yeah, with the skeletons hiding under the stairs and turning the stairs up under Mickey's feet. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Carissa says skeletons may be on the gruesome side, but they're usually pretty funny in cartoons like this. Yes, but at the time, this being a new art form, there were cinemas that considered it in bad taste. Particularly, one of the first silly symphonies. I think the very first silly symphony was the famous skeleton dance. The very first Walt Disney silly symphony was that skeleton dance cartoon that featured skeletons dancing in the graveyard. And there were there were a number of cinemas all across the nation that were like, no way, there's no way we're going to show that. And then she says that is some crazy muscle control. Yeah, with Mickey avoiding the circular saw there. Yeah. Well, that'll give you an indication of the kind of animation that was happening in the United States in 1933. Two different examples from Van Buren and from Disney, and they couldn't be more different. They're light and day as far as quality. That the Mickey Mouse cartoon did not feature a song. It was unusual. As I was saying when we were watching the Cubby Bear cartoon, cartoons were expected to feature a song with the characters singing and dancing, and it was usual for it to be a popular song. The cartoons at the time, even if they were produced and animated by independent studios, they were usually distributed by a big name studio like RKO or Paramount or MGM, which were big film studios which owned large libraries of popular songs that were featured in their movies. So the reason you would hear popular songs playing all through those Warner Brothers cartoons, in addition to the classical music, you would hear popular song references. It was because Warner Brothers owned the libraries that featured all those songs, so the animators and the composers were able to use them. But in that particular Mickey Mouse cartoon, there was no song. And any songs that were featured in Disney cartoons were original compositions because the Walt Disney Studio did not own popular songs. They were not a music company, and they didn't own feature films. So it wasn't until they started creating their own feature films that they had songs like that that they could feature in their cartoons. All right, there's a little bit of history for you. We saw the Prohibition thing, and we saw two cartoons from 1933. Now we're about to watch the Mascot also from 1933, animated by Wladyslaw Starewicz and his wife Irene. They're from Poland. They were living and working in Paris at the time. The title, The Mascot, refers to the living toys that you will see in the film. We call it the Mascot here in the West because the word fetiche in French means a little figurine or a little doll. Here in the West, if we called it the fetish, that would have a different connotation. So we call it the Mascot over here. It's also called the Devil's Ball sometimes, and that's the name that I put on the posters and all the images I've been sending out to get people's attention, and because it's more descriptive of what actually happens in the film. It's only 40 minutes. I saw parts of this film on a show called USA Night Flight in the 1980s. There was a show on the USA cable network that would go on all night, and they would show bits and pieces of odd stuff that you probably wouldn't see anywhere else. And one of them, one night, they featured parts of this film, not all of it, just parts of it, the Devil's Ball parts. So I had seen this stuff and vividly remembered it, and I had recorded it on VHS, and I had seen it many times on my little VHS over the years. Had no idea what it was, had no idea what it actually was. And then I had seen more of it in more recent years, still hadn't seen it all the way through. When I got this DVD in a few weeks ago, it was the first time I'd seen it all the way through. And I thought it was going to be longer. It's only 40 minutes. It turns out I'd seen more of it than I thought I had. But you're going to see all of it. It is in French. There's very little dialogue, so you really won't need subtitles. But what else do I want to say about it? Oh, it's animated. Starewicz animated in a style called go motion. It's a variation on stop motion. It's go motion as opposed to stop motion because in traditional stop motion, the animator shoots a frame of film with the figurine standing still. So every frame of the film is in perfect sharp focus. So although, however meticulous the animation might be, it doesn't look natural because everything's in sharp focus. King Kong is that way. And Ray Harry, all of Ray Harryhausen's films are that way. As great as they look, they don't look natural. Starewicz used a style called, a variation of stop motion called go motion, in which, while he was shooting each frame of film, he would have the figurine moving. He would hold the shutter open and move the figurine slightly so that they would be blurred a little bit, so that their motion looked more natural. I don't know if it was called go motion at the time. These days it's called go motion. I intended to show you some examples of more modern go motion. It's extremely rare because it's so meticulous, it's so time-consuming and so expensive. The number one example of modern go motion I can think of, the only modern animators to have done it in recent decades was in Dragon Slayer, the 1980, was it 80 or 81, the Disney film, the Disney Paramount joint film called Dragon Slayer. The reason people still rave about that dragon is because it was animated in go motion. In other words, its limbs and its body were moving while the shutter was open, so the movement of the thing looks super extra natural. It looks actually natural, and when you watch the few moments, it was only moving on screen for only seconds at a time because it was just too time consuming to do. But those few moments where you see the dragon crawling or walking, your eyes are just dazzled at how believable it looks. That's what happens in this film, in Starewicz's films. You have a very different emotional reaction to seeing Starewicz's figurines moving because they look natural. They don't look pixelated. They don't look stiff. When you see these figures moving around on the screen, your mind is going to be reacting very differently to any other animation you've ever seen because your brain is telling you that thing is moving. It's not animated. It's actually moving, and that's why I wanted to show this film. That you're going to see, whether you enjoy the film or not, whether you like the film or not, you're going to see things that you will never forget for the rest of your life. You may forget where you saw it, but you will never forget what you saw. Who's still with us? Before I get started with the film, say hello, and let me know who all's here. Because again, Restream isn't telling me how many people's watching. Happy Goth Art, Carissa says still here. Dr. Dweeb says still here. Miranda says still here. So there's three. We've got the police going by here. I keep looking over here because people keep walking by. We have a storefront window here, and there's been a number of times during the evening when there were people walking by, and I'm wondering, what they're doing, where they're going. Anyway, so is it just you three? I wish there were more. I wish there were more people watching. Is Mr. Silly still watching? I wish Javier were here from El Salvador. He usually comes to these things. I'd really like him to see this. Of course, he'll probably watch it later. Javier always goes back and watches the recordings. He does that. He was doing that even back in the day when I was doing the YouTube book reviews. He would watch everything, and the next time he came in, he would tell me about what he saw, even though he wasn't here for the live thing. So yeah, hello Javier. I know you're not here live, but I know you'll be watching. Anyway, let's get started with the Fetish by Wladyslaw Starewicz. And you will be dazzled by what you see. you're going to be hearing the opening. Well, I'll go ahead and let you see the thing. This is the opening to the DVD. Like I was saying earlier, this is a Region 2 DVD. It's the first time I've owned a Region 2 DVD coded for Europe. But I'm going to turn off my mic and just play the film. If I need to talk, if I need to come in and talk, I will. Continue to chat about the things that you see, and I'll chat with you.
Maman, j'ai soif. C'est trop, j'étouffe.
Babuka! Baki! Balamaki! Lamaka! Baki! Bakalaki! Babuka! Baki!
Quoi? Dis maman, est-ce que c'est très bon, une orange?
Oui, ma chérie.
J'en veux une. j'achèterai une orange pour toi et pour moi. Et pour Fétiche aussi.
la belle orange. Voyez la belle sanguine, garantie sans pépin. Achetez-moi la belle orange à 25 sous la livre. La force et la santé pour 25 sous la livre. Combien voulez-vous, ma petite dame?
What did you think? Was that sufficiently bizarre? Carissa says, so cute. yeah, parts of it. I always promoted this. I always told people that this was about a puppy toy that ends up in hell. That's not technically what happens, but I think it's close enough. The Devil's Ball is certainly a proper description of it. The devil actually didn't fare very well. He had trouble influencing people or influencing other toys. A DJ came in and joined us on Mixer and is now a follower. Thank you, DJ. I assume you found us at random. Dr. Dweeb says he got the snot kicked out of him. Yeah. Dr. Dweeb says bizarre indeed. Carissa says even the bad guy didn't follow his prompting. Right. You when the devil was whispering into the ruffian's ear, as you called him, Carissa, the ruffian, He was whispering in the guy's ear and handed him a knife. You thought surely he was going to cause mayhem, but without giving any clues about what he was going to do, he just stabs the devil without even looking at him. And then he goes over and he reaches down the chimp's throat. This was like some kind of stream of consciousness, bad dream. But I hope you all see what I meant when we started this. DJ, you wouldn't have heard me at the beginning, but when I was describing this at the beginning, fever dream, Carissa says, yeah. Like the kind of dream you would have when you're sick, which the little girl was. Maybe it was just a dream by the little girl. But as I was pointing out, the animation style here is so unusual. The animation was produced in such an unusual way. It has such a subtlety and realism to it. A kind of thing that we're not used to seeing these days. A technique that nobody does anymore because it's so difficult. As I pointed out, I'll fill you in, DJ. Starewicz did his animation by... he didn't use stop motion. He used stop motion, but he would move the figurine slightly while the shutter was open during each frame of filming, so that they would have a blurring in their motion effects, which makes them much more realistic and much more haunting. Like Carissa was saying that, and Dr. Eve says it looks very labor intensive. Yes, Carissa was saying during the film that she liked the saxophone player who was a balloon that was blowing up and shrinking. I remember him popping. Did that happen later? Did I miss it? Was I looking away? Carissa says, "Night. I'll be back next week. This is awesome." Yeah, thank you for being here, Carissa. I really do appreciate it. There is one thing I want to show you before you go. So don't go yet. There is one thing I forgot to show. Dr. Eve says when he was drinking. Okay, so he did pop. Okay. But and I might have been typing when it happened. But the one little figure that always gets me is that tiny little owl man that's mixing the drinks, and the way he's moving when he's mixing the drinks is so realistic. It looks like something that you would look down in the corner of the room when you're sleeping and when the lights are off, and that you would see moving in the corner of your room. So bizarre. Miranda says, "I like the little mixer man." Yeah, he was freaky, wasn't he? And all those creatures that showed up at the Devil's Ball, there were monsters, but there were also pieces of trash and vegetables, strange living vegetables for some reason. I got the feeling that it was basically anything, in addition to rejected toys, it was also anything that had been thrown out in the trash. It was just anything that humans had thrown out or forgotten. And that poor mom, I mean, the girl, the little dog brought the girl an orange to help her feel better. That was the whole point. He was trying to get home to get this little girl this orange that he had found. And but this poor woman, she had made those toys to sell them on Etsy or whatever, and she didn't get to sell her toys. All the toys ran off. There was that whole Toy Story thing with them escaping from the back of the car. But the producers and the distributors of this film were so happy with the puppy character that they commissioned a whole series of films from Starewicz featuring that puppy. He made like 8 more. I've not seen those. They commissioned like 20 or 30 of them, and he only made something like 8. But there's a whole series of films out there featuring that puppy. That puppy's face was very expressive, wasn't it? Just the way his lips and his eyes would move. I don't know if the puppy has a name. I'm sure the other films he must have a name. But there's before we go, there is, like I said, there is one other thing I wanted to show you. And Miranda, you're not going to believe this. Those of you who were with us 2 weeks ago. Carissa, were you here for the Monster Squad thing a couple of weeks ago? DJ says, yeah. You're talking about the puppy, the puppy's animation? There's a delay, so sometimes I'm not sure what people are reacting to. Anyway, I've been watching movies the past week. One movie that I watched was Death Race 2000. Here's a still from Death Race 2000, the 1977 film. One of the, it was produced by Roger Corman. The original with David Carradine. And this woman here was David Carradine's navigator, who rode in the car with him. And all the way through the film, I had seen it before, but it had been a long time. But all the way through the film, I was thinking she looked awfully familiar. She looked really, really familiar. And I was thinking that I recognized her from another film I had seen a couple of weeks ago called Women in Cages. Let's see if I have that still there. Yeah, Women in Cages. It's a really bad sexploitation film from earlier in the 70s, with featuring what's her name? That black woman who was in she was in those blaxploitation movies. What was that woman's name? I can't think of her name. Anyway, Roger Corman was one of the producers on this film. He wasn't the director, but I was thinking I recognized her from this film. It's not a good film, by the way. There was nothing titillating or sexy about it. It was just violent. But since Corman was one of the producers on this film, I was thinking she must have been in this film. That must be where I saw her. So I looked up her. So I looked her up from the credits on Death Race 2000, and I looked up her her filmography. She was not in Women in Cages, it turns out. But do you know where she was? Do you know where she turned up? You'll never guess. You won't believe it. You'll never guess in 100 years, because I wouldn't have guessed. Because I'm going to show you, okay? Because we've seen her, you've seen her. She was in Monster Squad. When we did our Monster Squad marathon 2 weeks ago, that was her. That was the same damn woman from Death Race 2000. If you can believe it. Pam Grier, Doc Dweeb. Yes, it's Pam Grier who I was thinking of. But I did not recognize her from Monster Squad, but we watched her in Monster Squad 2 weeks ago, and then I'm watching Death Race 2000, thinking I recognize her from some other films, and she was in the damn Monster Squad. Yeah, I mean, how? It's like I was saying. It must be, as I was saying when we were watching Monster Squad, that it looked like the makers of Monster Squad were just calling up everybody in Los Angeles that they knew, to be henchmen and stuff. And she never even spoke in Monster Squad. They didn't even want to pay her enough for her to have a speaking line. You can see her name in the credits of Monster Squad, Simone Griffith, spelled with an E, Griffeth. Yeah, so it was definitely her. And you know who else showed up in Death Race 2000 was our idiot friend Fred Grandy, who was the star of Monster Squad. In Death Race 2000, he played this Herman the German wearing a swastika helmet. So that's the little story I wanted to tell you before we left. Yeah. And this woman was in Death Race 2000 as well. And while I was watching it, I was thinking she looks awfully familiar. She sounds awfully familiar. And I was thinking, by the tone of her voice and the way she spoke, this very particular way she had of enunciating, I was thinking she sounds like the mom from one of my favorite movies called Schlock. It was John Landis's first film from 1973. It's called Schlock, just that word Schlock, S-C-H-L-O-C-K. So I looked up her name. I looked up her filmography. Sure enough, it was her. She looks really different in Death Race 2000. I guess she was going from one bad movie to another. Did I have any other pictures in this slideshow? No, I did not. Well, that's it for the Mascot, or the Devil's Ball. Do we have any other donations? I wanted to get $45 more in donations. We got 55 tonight, which I'm very happy to get. DJ, if you've never been with us before, how did you find us on Mixer? By the way, DJ, were you just going through random streams? It really does help me to know how people find us. I need to add the donation link to the description in Mixer so that people will know to be able to do that. We made $55 so far tonight. There was a $30 donation from Miranda that's not showing up on the thing. There was a $25 from Doc Dweeb, so that's 55. I wanted to get 45 more. So DJ, you saw us just at random. Well, I'm glad you found us, and I'm glad you're following too. Twitch is our primary streaming source. Sometimes we're on YouTube. Whenever I'm showing movies, I don't stream on YouTube because YouTube has too many copyright problems. Even with old films like this that I'm certain are in public domain, I end up having too many problems with YouTube because of background music usually gets us caught on YouTube. So please follow us on Twitch if you can. That's the place to be. We also stream on Picarto and Periscope and Facebook. We probably won't be streaming on Facebook in the future because streaming on Facebook is a paid service, and I don't really want to spend that money anymore. But again, thank you for being here, DJ. Glad you found us, and thank you for chatting too. Not everybody chats. People will lurk sometimes, but it really does help me to know who's watching. Yeah, do we have any more donations that we can get in before we go? 50th Street, by the way, DJ, is a nonprofit. I think everyone else here knows that. 50th Street Studio is a nonprofit. We set up a studio space here in a suburb of Seattle to shoot our own material and to make the space available to others, which of course is not possible now since the end of the world happened. Miranda says she sent another. Well, you don't need to do that, Miranda, but I appreciate it. It's very much appreciated. Let's see. Okay, another 10. So Miranda has donated $40 tonight. That makes 65 that we've got. If we can get 35 more before we go, I'll be very happy so we can reach the 100 mark for tonight. You see, our goal for the month of April is 2,000. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough to reach 2,000. I know it's a lot to ask. Donations are not the primary source of income for 50th Street Studio, but we do need it. Every little bit helps. Miranda says, I know I don't need to donate, but I enjoy 50th Street. I know you're a great friend and supporter, Miranda, and I thank you, as always. All right, that'll be it for tonight, I guess. I did solve, I said that at the beginning of the thing. I somewhat solved the problem of my face being too bright by flooding the back wall with light. I didn't mention, at the beginning I mentioned it, but I should mention it again, that when you make donations at certain levels, you can get some of these prizes I have on the wall behind me. Miranda has claimed the Space Ghost 100-piece puzzle there. And Doc Dweeb, if you want to claim a prize, let me know. You could take, at the $20 level, you could take the little bobblehead Devil Girl, or one of the cube puzzles. The Doc Dweeb says, no, I'm good. Well, I appreciate it. That's very good of you. I have the Devil Girl standing on top of this maze puzzle here, which is actually not one that's part of the thank you gift set. I need to move that out of there. Yeah, that one was a custom puzzle that's more valuable. Miranda says she'll come get that puzzle tomorrow. Okay. Make sure I'm here. I'll be in and out. It may be better to come get it during the week. But yeah, tomorrow might not be good. I'll be moving a lot of stuff in and out. Yeah, getting ready to. I'm actually removing a lot of stuff from the studio space here, in preparation of having to move out if worse comes to worse. Because there's a lot of stuff in storage here that I don't need on a daily basis, so I'm moving a lot of things out. One thing I'm going to work on tomorrow, Miranda, is finishing up this living room set on the other side of the space here, and I'm going to put the red curtains behind behind the stuff. Now that I found those big metal Lazy Susans, I found 2 more, by the way. Found 2 more of them here, the smaller ones. I use these to build a rotating bookshelf, and since I moved all the stuff up here, I've been unable to find them. But while I was going through storage last week, I found the 2 big ones, and then found the 2 smaller ones. I did find some boxes to go through for the live stream on Tuesday. Miranda, you're always asking about unboxings, so I will do some more unboxings on Tuesday. And then for the following week, I don't know what I'll do for the live stream. I'll try to get a guest, since I figured out how to get another guest to show up on screen with me through Discord. I'll definitely go looking for people who are streamers themselves who would make good guests. So that's what's going to be happening during the week. We brought in $65 tonight. I wanted to bring in 35 more, get us to the 100 mark. Is there anyone else who can throw in another donation or 2 before we go? If not, I'll say goodnight. Next week's movie. If you all enjoyed this bizarre animation, you will enjoy next week's movie. It's going to be a live action combined with animation television special from the 1950s called Our Mr. Sun, which is the first episode of a series of hour-long science specials that were produced by the Bell Science Labs. It's a series of films called the Bell Science series. I'm going to show 2 of them. I'll show Our Mr. Sun and another one called The Strange Case of the Cosmic Rays. And since we're live streaming and we've got all the time in the world, I may show a 3rd one. I may show Hemo the Magnificent, which is about the bloodstream. I wasn't going to show it on the big screen here because Hemo the Magnificent, being about the bloodstream, has a lot of footage of open heart surgery. It was surprisingly bloody, and I wanted kids to be here, and I didn't want to throw up these bloody operation scenes on screen and shock people. But yeah, these are perfect for kids. So Our Mr. Sun will be here next week. You all will be surprised at who all is in it. Yeah, there are faces you'll recognize. There are voices you'll recognize. And much of the animation was done by Seamus Culhane, who got his start at the Disney Studios in Snow White and Pinocchio. And what else? I guess that's it. We'll be here Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and hope to see you then. I'll be doing more unboxings, and then next Saturday, same time, 7 p.m. Pacific, we will see Our Mr. Sun. All right. Thank you again for your donations. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. Please follow us on Twitch to make sure you don't miss anything on Twitch. And good night.